Heavy checkmark, she built an empire with steel in her voice, yet it took only 24 hours to reduce her to a nobody. Heavy checkmark, her board abandoned her. Her friends vanished. But the cruelest blow? Even her driver refused to pick her up. Heavy checkmark, the woman who once fired people without blinking was now standing outside her own tower, and no one even looked at her. Ava Rahman had always been a force of nature. People whispered her name in hallways, feared her footsteps, straightened their backs when she passed. Her shoes clicked like a metronome of power, her tailored suits sharp enough to cut through silence. As the CEO of one of the biggest tech corporations in the country, she commanded meetings like battlefields. She was brilliant, relentless, intimidating, and utterly alone. Because power, she believed, didn't need company. But on one cold Thursday morning, the world she built with ruthless perfection shattered in a single headline. CEO accused in multi-million-dollar data fraud. The story spread like wildfire. Ava's face splashed across every screen. Her strong jaw, her confident eyes, now turned into symbols of greed. She hadn't done anything. She hadn't even known her CFO was cooking the books. But the world didn't wait for explanations. It wanted blood. And Ava Rahman was the easiest target. Within hours, her board demanded her resignation. Security escorted her out of her own office. The very walls she designed with marble and glass watched silently as the queen they once protected became an exile. Her phone buzzed with messages. Not of support, but abandonment. We need to distance ourselves. So sorry, Ava, but this is too much. Good luck. Good luck. As if luck could save a woman watching her empire collapse brick by brick. Her accounts were frozen pending investigation. Her penthouse lease, tied to her CEO contract, was immediately terminated. Friends she had entertained with lavish dinners suddenly stopped answering her calls. Even her driver, who had opened thousands of doors for her, simply sent a text. "Ma'am, I cannot come." The company said no. Ava stared at her reflection in the glass building. Once her throne, now a museum of everything she had lost. She was standing outside in the cold, wearing a suit that cost more than some people's annual rent, but feeling poorer than she ever had in her life. Wind whipped her hair. Her hands shook, not from cold, but from something she had never felt before. Fear. Real, suffocating fear. Her throat tightened. She turned away from the building and wandered to a bench near the lobby window. Her legs felt weak, her steps uneven. Ava Rahman, who once walked like a queen, now moved like someone trying not to fall apart in public. She sat and pressed her palms into her eyes, trying to keep tears from spilling. For the first time in years, she had no plan, no strategy, no idea where she would sleep that night. Her life had been reduced to three things: a freezing bench, a dead phone, and a heart full of noise she couldn't silence. As people passed by, employees she once hired, none of them looked at her. They walked around her like she was invisible, a stain on their perfect corporate floor. The humiliation stung more than the cold. She didn't know how long she sat there. Minutes. Hours. The world continued spinning, indifferent to her suffering. Then something unexpected happened. The lobby doors opened, letting out a burst of warm air, and two tiny figures darted out. Two little girls. Twins. Their identical ponytails bounced as they ran. Their backpacks looked too heavy for their small shoulders. One was carrying a notebook decorated with stickers. The other held a stuffed unicorn missing an ear. They couldn't have been more than 7. Ava didn't look up at first. She thought they were just running to a parent in the parking lot. But their footsteps stopped in front of her. A small voice chirped. "Lady, are you crying?" Ava froze. Another voice followed, softer, concerned. "You look really sad. Do you need help?" Ava felt something twist painfully inside her chest. Children were staring at her with more kindness than any adult had that entire day. She wiped her tears, trying to smile. "No, sweetheart. I'm fine." The first twin frowned. "Daddy says people who say I'm fine are actually not fine." Ava blinked. Before she could respond, The second twin plopped down beside her as if she had known Ava all her life. She dug into her backpack and pulled out a crumpled chocolate bar, half melted.
Here.
Mommy said food always helps sad people. Ava looked at the chocolate like it was a treasure. Then slowly, her eyes lifted toward the glass doors. Inside, she saw a man mopping the floor, worn shoes, tired shoulders, a humble presence. The janitor. The twins waved at him. And for the first time that day, and for the first time in a very long time, Ava Rahman felt the warmth of something she had forgotten existed. Kindness. Heavy checkmark, 2 little girls had shown her more compassion in seconds than her entire board had shown in years. Heavy checkmark, she spent her life surrounded by billionaires, yet it was a janitor's children who saved her from breaking. Heavy checkmark, that moment, those tiny arms wrapped around her, would rewrite her entire destiny. The chocolate bar sat in Ava's palm like a fragile piece of humanity. It was warm from the little girl's hand, edges softened, wrapper torn. Something no executive would ever consider luxurious, yet right now it felt like the most valuable gift she had ever received. "Thank you," she whispered. The twins grinned in perfect synchrony, as if they had rehearsed it. One swung her legs back and forth while the other traced invisible shapes on the concrete with her shoe. They didn't ask who she was. They didn't judge her makeup-smudged eyes or trembling hands. Children didn't care about status. They saw feelings. And right now, Ava was drowning in hers. "What are your names?" she asked softly. "I'm Zoya," the first one chirped. "And I'm Zara," the other added proudly. Ava smiled weakly. "Beautiful names." The twins beamed. Before she could speak again, the lobby doors opened. A gust of warm air escaped, followed by hurried footsteps. "Girls, what did I tell you about running outside?" The janitor called out, breathless. Zoya pouted. "But Daddy," she was crying. Zara nodded firmly.
"Yeah, Daddy.
"We can't leave people crying alone." The man's gaze shifted to Ava. His eyes widened. Not in recognition, not in fear, but in sincere concern. "Ma'am, are you all right?" Ava opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Something about his voice, gentle yet grounded, unlocked a lump in her throat. She swallowed hard, forcing composure. "I'm fine," she managed, but the man didn't look convinced. He crouched to the twins' level. "Girls, why don't you go inside and wait for me by the supply closet, okay? I'll be right there." Zoya whispered, but she's sad. "I know," he said softly. "I just need a moment." Reluctantly, the twins slipped inside. As the doors closed behind them, silence settled between Ava and the janitor. He stood quietly, not pressuring her to speak, not judging, just present. Something she hadn't experienced in years. "Thank you," she breathed. "Your daughters are very kind." "They get that from their mother," he replied with a small smile. "She taught them to never ignore someone in pain." Ava stared at the ground. "I must look pathetic." He shook his head. "You look human." The word human hit her harder than any headline, any betrayal, any corporate blow. She had been called many things: genius, dragon, ice queen, unstoppable. But never simply human. He extended his hand gently. "I'm Cameron." She hesitated before shaking it. "Ava." His expression changed, slightly, subtly. There was recognition now, but not the kind she feared. Not disgust. Not gossip. Just understanding. "You're the CEO, or?" "Former," she corrected quickly. The word tasted bitter. He nodded slowly. "I read the news this morning." Ava felt her chest tighten. "This isn't the place for you to be sitting alone," Cameron said quietly. "Come inside. It's warm. You don't have to talk. Just don't stay out here freezing." Her instinct was to refuse. Pride was the only thing she had left. But then she remembered the twins' little hands, their innocent worry, the crumpled chocolate in hers. She followed him inside. The warmth she never knew. The lobby, once a monument of her power, now felt like an unfamiliar world. Employees streamed past, whispering behind their hands. She avoided their eyes. Cameron walked slightly ahead, not guiding her, not leading her, but giving her space. He stopped near the supply room. "Sit here," he said, gesturing to a small chair by the wall. "I'll bring you some tea." Ava blinked. "You don't have to." "I know," he replied simply. "But I want to." There was no pity in his voice, only sincerity. When he left, the twins rushed over from the corner, where they had been drawing on scrap paper. Zoya gasped dramatically. "We made you something." She handed Ava a paper covered in pink crayon hearts. Zara added, "We made this one too. It's a happy face so you can feel happy soon." Ava stared at the drawings. Her vision blurred. She hadn't cried when she lost her company. She hadn't cried when her accounts were frozen. She hadn't cried when her friends abandoned her. But two children she didn't know had broken through the wall she spent decades building. A tear slid down her cheek. Zoya immediately climbed onto her lap, tiny arms circling Ava's neck. Zara hugged her waist. Ava froze. She didn't know how to hold children. She didn't know how to receive affection. She didn't know how to let her heart soften. But the twins didn't give her a choice. Zara whispered, "It's okay. We're here." Something inside Ava shattered, and then began to mend in a way she had never expected. Cameron returned, pausing when he saw the twins curled around Ava like she was family. For the first time since the scandal broke, Ava didn't feel cold. She felt seen. She felt safe. She felt human. And she didn't know it yet. But those two little girls, Zoya and Zara, weren't just comforting her. They were about to reshape her entire future. Heavy check mark, she once commanded thousands. Now she was sweeping hallways beside a janitor, and strangely, it felt like the first honest thing she had done in years. Heavy check mark, the fall didn't break her. What broke her was realizing how empty her old life had been. Heavy check mark, sometimes rock bottom isn't the end. It's the place where real life finally begins. Ava didn't leave the building that night. She couldn't. She had nowhere to go, nowhere warm, nowhere safe. And as humiliating as it felt, the corporate tower, her tower, was the only shelter available. Cameron noticed her hesitation long before she admitted it to herself. "You shouldn't be out there alone," he said gently as the twins packed their crayons. "Stay until morning. No one will bother you." Ava's pride screamed in protest. But her reality forced her lips to whisper a quiet, desperate, "Thank you." The twins insisted she sleep in their little secret corner, a hidden space behind the storage racks where they kept their drawings and books while waiting for their father to finish his shift. It was just a blanket, a small lamp, and a few toys, but to Ava it felt like safety. When the girls fell asleep, heads resting on each other like mirrored reflections, Ava watched them with a strange ache in her heart. She couldn't remember the last time she had seen innocence so pure. Her childhood had been strict, disciplined, filled with expectations, not laughter, not sticky chocolate smiles, not warm little hugs. She had spent her whole life chasing success. Now she was sitting on a cold floor next to two sleeping children, and for the first time, she felt like she was learning what being alive meant. The morning after humiliation. At dawn, sunlight seeped through the glass walls and brushed Ava's face. She startled awake, confused. Then reality crashed in again. She was no longer the CEO. She was homeless. She was broke. And she was in a supply closet. The humiliation burned in her throat. Cameron arrived early, carrying a thermos of hot chai. He handed her a cup without a word. She accepted it with trembling hands. When she looked up at him, she expected pity. Instead, she saw respect. Quiet, unspoken, but real. "You don't have to hide," he said. "Everyone falls. Some just fall from higher floors." Ava almost laughed, a broken, fragile laugh. "I don't know what to do now." "Then do the next small thing," he replied. "Big plans can wait." She frowned. "What small thing?" Cameron hesitated, studying her face carefully. "If you need even temporary work, I can talk to Mark in maintenance. He's short-staffed. It's not glamorous, but it's honest." The CEO inside her screamed, "Absolutely not." The broken woman whispered, "Maybe I need this." "How much does it pay?" she asked, shame crawling over her skin. "Enough for food. Enough until you get back on your feet. Ava stared at the floor. She had managed billion-dollar acquisitions, negotiated contracts, and reshaped industries. And now she was considering a janitorial job. Okay, she whispered. I need something. Cameron nodded once, not triumphantly, not smugly, just kindly. I'll arrange it. The first day of her new life. Her first shift was that afternoon. Mark, a stocky middle-aged man with calloused hands, handed her gloves and a mop bucket. He didn't mock her. He didn't bring up her scandal. He didn't treat her like the fallen queen. He treated her like a person who needed work. Still, humiliation crawled under her skin as she stepped into the hallway, her former domain. Her heels had once echoed here. Now her mop left streaks of soap on the floor. Every employee who passed slowed, stared, whispered. She kept her eyes down and scrubbed harder. Cameron worked beside her, his motions calm and practiced. He didn't hover, didn't lecture, didn't make her feel inferior. He simply existed next to her like a quiet anchor. You're doing fine, he murmured. I'm doing janitorial work, she muttered. And doing it well, he countered easily. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry, so she kept scrubbing. During break, the twins ran in with apples and a lunchbox. Daddy said you need to eat, Zara exclaimed. And we saved the big cookie for you, Zoya added. Ava stared at the cookie, round, lopsided, homemade. Her throat tightened again. You girls don't need to give me your lunch, she said gently. But they insisted, pushing it into her hands. Cameron watched, amusement softening his features. They decided you're family. There's no way around it. Family. The word echoed in Ava's chest like a foreign language. She had never been family to anyone. She had been a leader, a boss, a ruler. But family? She hadn't known what that meant in decades. I'm not good with kids, she admitted quietly. Zoya grinned. That's okay. We're good with adults. Both twins practically tackled her in a hug. Ava stiffened, then melted. Something inside her heart shifted. Just a little. Just enough. Small moments that change everything. Over the next week, Ava swept floors, emptied trash, restocked supplies, and scrubbed walls. Her once perfect manicured hands grew rougher. Her suits were replaced by cheap work clothes Mark bought from a discount store. She tied her hair back with a rubber band. Strangely, she didn't hate it. Every day, the twins brought her drawings. Ava standing with them. Ava holding a heart. Ava smiling, a huge, exaggerated smile she wasn't sure she had ever worn in real life. Cameron would quietly place water bottles beside her, telling her to take breaks she forgot to take. He listened when she talked. He offered wisdom without preaching. He let her feel safe without asking for anything. For someone who had always believed trust was a weakness, she found herself trusting him more than anyone she'd ever known. She didn't realize she was healing. Not until she overheard two executives whispering. She deserves what happened to her. She was always cold. She had no heart. Ava waited for the sting. It never came. Instead, she glanced at Zoya and Zara playing with crayons on the floor, and at Cameron fixing a light bulb quietly above her. And for the first time since her fall, she realized something profound. She didn't miss her old life. Not the loneliness. Not the emptiness. Not the cold success. Here, in the humblest place she had ever stood, she felt more human than ever. But she had no idea. Her redemption was coming. And it would begin with those very twins, in a way no one saw coming. Heavy checkmark. One small accident, one tiny moment, exposed a truth so shocking it flipped her entire fate overnight. Heavy checkmark. The twins weren't just saving her, they were about to save her entire life. Heavy checkmark. She had fallen from the top, but destiny wasn't done with her, because the truth was hiding in the janitor's pocket the whole time. 2 weeks passed. 2 weeks of sweeping floors, scrubbing tiles, eating homemade cookies with the twins, and sharing quiet conversations with Cameron during midnight shifts. 2 weeks of humility, healing, and unexpected warmth. But destiny refused to let her stay hidden forever. Everything changed on a rainy Tuesday morning. The twins were running down the hallway, late for school, giggling, carrying matching pink umbrellas, when Zoya suddenly slipped on the wet floor. Ava heard the scream. Before she even thought, she sprinted toward the girls. Zoya hit the ground hard, her tiny knee scraping against the tile. She burst into tears. Zara started crying too because twins shared feelings like mirrors.
Zoya.
Oh God, come here, Ava whispered, gathering the little girl into her arms. Zara clung to her side. The elevator dinged, and Cameron rushed out, panic all over his face. What happened? She slipped, Ava explained, her voice trembling as if Zoya were her own child. Her knee is bleeding. She needs a bandage. Cameron nodded quickly. Come to the break room. I have a kit. He hurried ahead while Ava carried the crying girl, her small arms wrapped tightly around Ava's neck. Zara held Ava's hand the whole way. Inside the break room, Cameron knelt on the floor with trembling hands as he opened the first aid kit. Daddy, it hurts, Zoya whimpered. I know, sweetheart. I know. Ava held the girl still. Then something happened, so small, so ordinary, yet so life-changing, that none of them saw it coming. As Cameron dabbed the wound with a cotton pad, a folded document slipped out of his pocket and landed on the floor. Ava glanced at it, just instinct, but the title stopped her breath. Confidential Internal Audit Report, CEO Exoneration File. Her heart slammed against her ribcage.
No.
Impossible. Cameron froze, realizing the paper had fallen. For the first time since she met him, she saw fear in his eyes. Ava stared at him. Why do you have this? He swallowed hard. I was trying to find the right time to tell you. Ava's blood turned cold. She gently set Zoya on the bench and picked up the document with trembling hands. She recognized the seals. She recognized the signatures. She recognized the names of the investigators. This wasn't a fake. It was the report proving her innocence, the evidence that the CFO had framed her, manipulated the numbers, and pinned the scandal on her to protect himself. Cameron, she whispered, where did you get this? Zara looked between them, confused. Daddy. Cameron closed the first aid kit and exhaled slowly, as if releasing years of secrets. My brother works in the IT security department, he said quietly. He found out everything the moment it happened. He knew the CFO was deleting evidence. He pulled the files before they disappeared. Ava's heart hammered. Why didn't he come forward immediately? He tried, Cameron said. But people above him shut him down. People loyal to the CFO. They threatened his job. And his visa. Ava's lips parted in shock. So he gave them to you, she breathed. Cameron nodded. He knew you were innocent. And he knew I had nothing to lose by holding the evidence. Ava stared at him, this quiet, humble man who mopped floors at midnight, holding the key to her entire life. Why didn't you tell me? She whispered, voice breaking. Cameron looked at her with the gentlest eyes she had ever seen. Because when you came here broken, you didn't need a CEO's redemption. You needed a human one. Ava's vision blurred. Zoya sniffled and touched Ava's hand. Are you sad again? Ava shook her head, tears falling freely. No, sweetheart, not sad. She dropped to her knees beside Cameron, the document trembling between them. You saved my life, she whispered. No, Cameron said softly. My daughters did. If they hadn't stopped that day, if they hadn't sat with you, he smiled. You never would have trusted me enough to listen. Ava covered her face with her hands. Zoya crawled onto her lap. Zara hugged her from behind. The twins didn't understand the adult conversation, but they understood tears. Cameron spoke again, voice steady but cautious. Ava, this is enough to clear your name.
Completely.
You can have your position back. Your reputation. Everything. Everything. That word felt heavy.
Too heavy.
Her old life, the cold glass office, the lonely penthouse, the ruthless boardroom, was waiting for her. But she wasn't the same woman anymore. She didn't know if she wanted that life back. She didn't know if she could return as the same person she once was. But she did know this. Her time with Cameron and the twins had given her something more valuable than her company ever had. Connection. Humanity. Warmth. And now the truth. Ava wiped her tears, folded the report, and looked directly into Cameron's eyes. "Help me fix this," she said softly. "Not for the title, but for justice." Cameron nodded slowly, his eyes warm. "Always." And as the twins hugged her tightly, she knew. The world had taken everything from her, but fate had handed her something better. A family she never expected, and a truth that would lift her again. Heavy check mark, she didn't rise to reclaim her throne. She rose to protect the people who had saved her. Heavy check mark, her comeback wasn't built on power. It was built on love, loyalty, and the two little girls who rebuilt her heart. Heavy check mark this time. She wasn't fighting alone. She fought with a janitor's family behind her, and that changed everything. Ava held the report to her chest like a heartbeat she was afraid to lose. Cameron watched her silently, as if giving her space to breathe. The twins squeezed her hands, sensing something important was happening even if they didn't understand the specifics. "Are you going to be the boss again?"
Zoya asked suddenly.
Ava blinked. The question hit deeper than she expected.
Was she? Could she?
Did she even want to? Before she could answer, Cameron spoke softly. "Whatever you choose, we're with you." Those simple words anchored her spirit in a way titles and power never had. Ava rose to her feet. "We're taking this to the board," she said. "Today." The boardroom she once ruled. The board meeting was already underway when Ava walked in unannounced. Whispers broke out instantly. "That's her. She shouldn't be here. Security. Is she crazy?" But Ava didn't flinch. She placed the exoneration file directly on the conference table with a force that silenced the entire room. "This," she said firmly, "is the evidence you all ignored." The CFO, pale, sweating, lurched out of his chair. "That's confidential." "It's criminal," Ava shot back. "And it proves who framed me." She opened the folder, laying each page out like a weapon. Internal logs, audit trails, financial proofs. Deleted files were covered. Transactions he hid. He was exposed. The board members shifted uncomfortably, glancing from the documents to the CFO, their faces draining of color. The head of legal picked up one page, scanned it, and gasped. This is undeniable." The CFO shoved his chair back. "You can't prove." "Yes," Ava said, stepping closer. "I can." She turned, and for the first time, everyone saw who was standing behind her. Cameron, a janitor, a nobody in their eyes, but the man who held the truth when no one else stared. "And so can he," she continued, "because the truth didn't come from your boardrooms or your lawyers. It came from someone who values honesty more than power." The room was dead silent. Ava looked around, her voice steady, powerful, but softer than the ice queen she once was. "You abandoned me before the investigation even started.
You humiliated me.
You erased my access, erased my position, erased my dignity." She took a breath. "But what you didn't erase was my integrity." Guilty eyes dropped to the table. She straightened. "I don't want my old title back." The board froze. "What I want," Ava continued, "is for the truth to be public. I want my name cleared. And I want this company to remember that people matter more than power." A few members nodded, relieved, almost grateful, that she didn't demand the CO seat back. But Ava wasn't done.
"One more thing," she said.
"This company needs a restructuring of its ethics policies. And I want Cameron involved in building that plan. He knows what real integrity looks like." The board looked stunned. A janitor? On an ethics committee? But none dared challenge her now. The head of the board cleared his throat. We will do as you request. Full exoneration. Public statement. Immediate investigation into the CFO." Security arrived minutes later to escort the panicked CFO out. Cameras flashed as he was led through the lobby, the same lobby where Ava once cried alone. The irony wasn't lost on her. Justice had finally found its way home. The aftermath that transformed everything. 2 days later, Ava's name dominated headlines again, but this time with the truth. CEO cleared of all charges, CFO arrested for fraud and evidence tampering. Ava Rahman proven innocent, Company issues public apology. Anonymous insider saved the day. Story behind a silent hero. Ava didn't mention Cameron by name. She wanted to protect his privacy, his peace. But she did hold a press conference, and in front of journalists, flashing lights, and a sea of microphones, she spoke from her heart, not her ego. I lost everything, she began. But in losing everything, I found what matters. Kindness, humanity, and the reminder that titles don't define us. Our character does. The world listened. For once, it didn't feel hollow. A new path. A week after the truth came out, Ava found herself back where everything began. In the supply room corner where the twins kept their crayons. Zoya and Zara squealed when they saw her, running straight into her arms. You're happy now, Zara shouted. Ava laughed, an unrestrained, real laugh she barely recognized as her own. Yes, sweetheart. And it's because of you too. Cameron approached quietly. You handled the board better than anyone I've ever seen, he said, smiling. Ava stepped closer. I didn't do it alone. A soft silence wrapped around them. For the first time, she wasn't the powerful CEO or the broken woman. She was simply Ava, a person learning to live with an open heart. She took a deep breath. I'm starting something new, she said. An organization to help employees who get wrongly blamed or mistreated. A place where voices like yours, she looked at Cameron, are heard. He blinked in surprise. Ava, that's incredible. And I want you with me, she added softly. Not as a janitor. As someone I trust. Cameron's breath caught in his chest. Zoya tugged on Ava's sleeve. Does that mean we get to see you every day? Ava knelt to their level, cupping their tiny cheeks. If I'm lucky, she whispered, yes. Weeks later, Ava walked out of the building, not as a disgraced CEO, not as a broken woman, but as someone reborn. Beside her walked Cameron, and running ahead of them were two little girls who had changed everything. She didn't regain her empire. She gained something far greater. A family that had chosen her. A purpose that gave her life meaning. And a future built not on power, but on love, truth, and second chances. Ava looked at the sky, feeling warmth for the first time in years. Falling had been her greatest blessing, because it led her to the people who helped her rise. Together,